Mini skirt on, dip my body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture. Two foreign cars, I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya. Mini skirt on, dip my body
Hello. My name's Kristen. I'm the host of the A Little Bit A Lot podcast. And today I thought that I would try something a little bit different. Normally I only post on Fridays for my podcast. But I decided that, since I have a YouTube channel, I may as well, be a YouTuber and talk about different things that I want to talk about and not just focus on just the podcast. Because sometimes I feel like there's certain topics that I want to discuss that don't really need a podcast episode. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like going forward in 2024, I'm going to take the reins on my channel and basically just do whatever the frick I want to do. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really want to have to just be, obligated to only post on Fridays. I feel like in between the podcast, if there's something that I want to discuss, then I have a right to be able to post a video on the channel. So come along with me on the ride. You know what I'm saying? I feel like these are little chit chats. I've been thinking about this for a couple, weeks now. So that's what we're doing right now up in this gig. So if you're feeling the vibes, make sure that you like this video. You know what I'm saying? Because there's going to be more videos to come, and make sure you subscribe. I always say on my podcast every week that I'm on my journey to my first 100 subscribers, and we are so close, guys. So make sure you subscribe so that way you could be down with the gang. You know what I'm saying? And in between time, make sure you guys tune into the podcast too. But yeah, so this week I just really wanted to just go in and talk about Love Island games specifically. I know that I'm like 3-4 weeks behind, but I just feel like I've been sitting on my thoughts and I never got a chance to work it into the podcast. So that's what we're here to talk about. Okay, so I know that, like I said, I'm late, but at the end of the day, I still feel like I need to just get these thoughts off my chest. You know what I'm saying? I just recently became a Love Island fan this year. My very first season was the most recent season of Love Island UK, and I watched it through and through. Didn't realize that it comes on basically every day, and that it's a over 60 episode commitment. So that gagged me, but we made it through. And when I heard the Love Island games was coming out, I'm like, sweetie, you better believe I'm gonna watch that. It's the first of its kind apparently. So I was on it. And the thing I like about, Love Island games is it's short and sweet. 3 weeks and then you keep it pushing. So there was only I think 17 episodes. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, I had some thoughts about Love Island games, and I just wanted to share that my very first thought about Love Island games was the fact that I don't understand why there was so much heat on Selly. If you guys watch the season, then you know who I'm talking about. Selly originally, let me just explain for those who haven't watched it. If you have not watched Love Island games, Selly is a girl who was coupled up with this guy named Toby. They were coupled, but then they ended up being forced apart, and then, or something like that. And then he ended up getting eliminated, or either they were still together, but he got eliminated. Either way it happened, I forgot, because there's so much that happens within every episode. Either way, her potential love interest was eliminated. So after he had to go, she ended up having to couple up with this guy named Eyal, and she really liked Eyal. But tell me why at the end of the season, they brought the entire cast back, everybody that had been eliminated back, and then they got to choose what couple they wanted to win and, make it to the finale. So Toby came back, and then he tried to, buck up on the girlies and say, you're just a fake, round of applause. You guys are the biggest actors. And I just don't really understand why she was getting that heat. I personally feel like Selly wasn't in the wrong here. She had to do what she had to do. I don't understand how it's any different from Johnny, right? Because then you have Johnny, who's another contestant on the show. And at least with Johnny, he would go from girl to girl to girl basically from day one. And sometimes when he would move on to the next girl, he would still be in the bed with one. And then when they wake up, go and kiss the other one. That I feel like is so shady. You can't even let the girl leave the villa before you move on to the next. At least with Selly, she had no choice because her partner was eliminated. Her love interest was eliminated. So she had a reason to move on. But with, Johnny, it's like, these girls aren't even being eliminated. They're still very much in the villa and you're moving on. I think the one girl, Jessica, said that he changes girls more than he changes his underwear. Gagged him. I was really happy that she spoke up about that, but like, geez Louise, Johnny, like, I just feel like that was so shady boots. Like, you are literally moving on, not communicating with these girls. Hey, I'm not really interested anymore. And then before moving on, and then you wait until the girl confronts you every single time and they be like, oh yeah, I was going to talk to you about that. I'm not feeling it anymore. What is that about? But somehow Toby comes in after being eliminated, just like ready to chop her head off and then like blame Selly. Like, what did you expect her to do? This show is only 3 weeks long. I don't have time to just be like, oh, Toby, and mourn when I have to still play the game. So I don't understand. Like, I could see if she was like being on that type of time and just like really invested in EL while Toby was still there, but he left. So it's like, what can you do at that point? I just really didn't really understand that. I didn't really like that. And I just feel like Toby's energy coming in, saying that she was fake was like very strange. Then he tried to be like, they're like, okay, well, what makes you say that? And he's like, they wrote the tapes. I saw everything. And even like, Jack and Justine, who were doing their like post-show interviews, are equally confused. What did you see? Because what we saw was that Selly just simply had to move on. She can't just cry for days when we're only here for a certain amount of time. So I'm just really so confused. Like, I just truly feel like he was just salty that he got voted off and that she had no choice but to move on, and that maybe he was just salty that their connection wasn't as strong as her immediate connection with Toby. I mean, with EL, so maybe he just was projecting in that way. And if that's the gag, then you just need to be transparent about your feelings, Toby. Don't try to project and make it seem like I'm the problem when we had both mutually agreed that like the way that our couple, like I think they had a chat about it, that it just wasn't vibing and it just wasn't flowing. But then when he met Georgia and then Selly met EL, it was an instant, like, better connection. So I don't know. That's just really been on my mind. That's just really been grinding my gears, because it was like, Toby thought you ate. Give me that freaking plate. Like, what did you really think we were going to, rally around this type of weird energy? Like, no, you're just projecting and you're just giving very much insecure. So I just didn't really like that. So yeah. My next thoughts have been Scott. What the frick is Scott doing back here? You know what I'm saying? Is this like his third run on Love Island in a year? That is so incredibly crazy, bro. Like, you just got off of another season, flew to Fiji, and then participated on this one. It's like he's a cockroach. Like, you just can't get rid of him. Like, I don't know. And I just feel like I've never really gotten sincere vibes from Scott. But at the same time, it's like he's always got something to say. He's very, opinionated, very strong-willed. So maybe that's why they keep bringing him back, because they know it's like good for TV. But I'm just so confused. If I see Scott in another season of Love Island after this, I'm going to scream. Like, we cannot keep doing this with him. Like, after he went through what he went through on Love Island UK, after I watched that season, who was he paired with? Coupled with Whitney, was her name? It was just a chop after that. Like, I just didn't really like how he moved. He's just not the type of person that I personally want to be friends with. So I would just love to see him, go. Moving on, I'm also very confused about Callum and Deb. When Deb came into the villa, Callum, for those who don't watch, Callum is a person on the show, and he was coupled with this lovely lady named Liberty. If you don't like Liberty, something's wrong with you. I am team Liberty down. I immediately was attracted to her personality. She's, seems very sweet. She seems very genuine, and like the body serving tea. So I just didn't really understand why Callum was friend zoning her. But at the end of the day, it's like, Liberty's a baddie anyway, so like she doesn't need Callum as it is, so it's like whatever. But then when Deb comes into the villa, I feel like Deb and Liberty's personalities are kind of the same, so I just don't understand, like, what is it that you liked about Deb that you didn't see in Liberty? I'm really confused about that. But either way, it was just like whatever, you know. I'm just glad that they made it work as long as they did with their friendship couple. But then it's like once Deb came into the picture, I'm just like, I'm still just really confused as to what you even really like about this girl. You know what I mean? Like, what was so different about Liberty? And then it's just like, in general, one thing that has like really been still on my mind since watching this season was the way that Deb went about the apple bobbing game. For those who didn't watch, they had a game where they had to quite literally bob for apples. There's a basket of water with apples in there. They had to go in, grab the apples with their mouths, and then stick them in the basket of somebody that they want to see leave or something like that. And then instead of being a real one, you know what I'm saying, standing on business, SOB, Deb just basically did a cop out and then let Callum do all of the work, which I quite frankly, I feel like she did in every single challenge in the short amount of time that she was there. And then she just decided to like not bob for apples and then just pretend like she couldn't get them. And everybody's like, it's okay, Deb, you got it, you got it. And then in her confessional, she's just like, yeah, it was a chop. Like, I didn't want to do that. I just feel like I never respect those type of people. Like, at the end of the day, if you're here to play the games, play the game. Like, you cannot continue to just keep like, you know, copping out and then making your partner do all of the work just because you feel like you're too scared to make a decision. Like, be a baddie, do what you got to do, step up, make your decision, and bob the apples. Like, girl, like, you are so scared to like pick a side. But if you're a real one, you're gonna do what you got to do. But she didn't stand on that. So I really thought that was strange. So yeah, didn't really love Deb, was really confused as to how she even made it into the final in the short amount of time that she was there. I just feel like she was very lucky that she was able to grab Callum's attention, because Callum surprisingly ended up being a very strong player in the games. As soon as I saw Callum in the beginning, I thought he was going to be out of there quick, but somehow he fought through to the end. And it's like, honestly, I give him a pat on the back for that. I didn't like him at first, but his personality grew on me. So I'm just like, you know what? Good for you, Callum. Good for you, I guess. Like, I feel like you single-handedly got your couple to the end after Liberty left. Because let's be real, I feel like Liberty was a better match in theory, games wise, you know what I'm saying? Because every time they had to do their games when he was with Liberty, Liberty ate down. She gave it her all. But Deb just like, I'm not going to do anything. It's just like, girl, are you serious? I feel like you should have just had an automatic disqualification right there if you're not going to actually play, because there's other people who want to be in your position. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I think we're going to, talk about the biggest topic of them all was Ray and Imani. I was very happy about their coupling, because in the beginning I was like, I am so here for this. I didn't, watch the previous seasons that they were on. So this was my first impression, and I'm just like, oh my God, Imani's just a baddie. Ray's really cute too. Like, the puppy love was there in the beginning. It was super flirty, and I'm like, I'm living for this couple. But then I just feel like as time went on, it just got crazier and crazier, and if you've watched the show, then you just know how insane things got. But a couple points that I feel like I've been like really thinking about a lot was just like the fact that people were getting so upset at Imani for not listening to Ray towards the end, because when they got ready to do their apple bobbing competition, they were trying to be on the same accord to be like, okay, this is the couple that we're going to put all the apples in the basket in. You know what I'm saying? You have to be very strategic about who you're going to target, because it's going to make a difference. But Imani did not want to listen to Ray because she didn't agree with his alliances, and she didn't agree with the direction that he wanted to take on who they wanted to target, which that's her right. But if you're not going to work with your partner and who you're coupled up with, and you're going to stand on your own opinion and go your own direction, at least make it make sense. Okay, I think I've notoriously seen so many different people in different videos that I've watched say the same thing, and I felt the same way. Why did Imani choose the route that she chose? If you're going to go a different direction, like I said, make the direction make sense. But instead of being strategic and choosing people to target, she decided to just go and put apples in everybody's basket to quote unquote make it even. I didn't really understand that analogy. Like, that's not playing the game smart. But because you didn't want to listen to Ray so bad, you chose to go the other route. And then I think that ended up like being your demise. But at the same time, can I hold it against Imani for not wanting to listen to Ray? No, because a lot of people are forgetting the fact that Ray was showing like red flags, you know, in the roller coaster of the 3 weeks of their relationship, like time and time again. There will be times where Ray and Imani would be coupled up, and then Imani kept getting taken away from him. And he would, like, there was one specific time, like the last time that she got taken away from him, where she tried to talk to Ray after the recoupling to just be like, hey, like, you know, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And he was so mad about it, which I validate his feelings. Getting your couple and the girl that you like taken away from you is not fun. But when that girl who didn't have any choice in being taken away is trying to talk to you, why project your insecurities onto her and your frustrations and then say, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk. You know, understandably, he does have a right to be able to have space, but I feel like he didn't communicate that in a respectful manner. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't want to talk. Like, at least give her an explanation as to why. Hey, I'm really frustrated. This has nothing to do with you. I'm just really feeling upset and insecure. And I'm really worried, you know, about the status of our relationship since, you know, you keep getting taken away from me. Maybe we can talk, you know, in 20, 30 minutes. Give me some time. You didn't even do that. I feel like if I was Imani and Ray was acting like that towards me, that would have immediately told me what type of partner he's going to be. Because traditionally, in relationships, you want somebody that you can be able to rely on and have, you know, open and effective communication. So it's like, you're already showing me that you're not capable of that. So I think that not a lot of people thought about like all the different red flags that Ray was showing and his inability to communicate with Imani that led to her ultimately deciding not to take his lead in the apple bobbing competition in the end. Because it's like, shoot, I wouldn't really want to like trust his alliances and trust what he has to say either if he's consistently like being insecure and not wanting to communicate with me every single time we have a recoupling. Like, I don't know. Like, I just feel like it's such a, you know, complicated situation. It's so easy to be able to see both sides when it comes to this. You know, like, I can see why Imani would kind of just be like, nah, I'm just going to choose, you know, go with what I go with because I don't 100% trust Ray's, you know, judgment. He's a very emotional person. Is he thinking critically? I don't know. Or is he just leading with his heart? It's a lot when you're in that situation, and the pressure of being in that villa, I'm sure, can feel like a ton of bricks. So I don't know, like, it was just really tricky. But yeah, I just felt like, okay, where was the strategy of it all when it came to the apple bombing? And then of course we got the big banger with like Ray being mad at Justine. If you didn't watch, Ray and Justine, the contestants on the show, were like actually real life friends before they came into the villa. So Ray was coupled up with Imani. Justine was coupled up with this guy named Jack, who seemed really nice. But the gag was, when it ultimately came down to it, Justine and Jack had to vote Ray and Imani out of the show. And the only reason why Justine felt like she had to get rid of Ray was because of Ray's partner, Imani. Like, I don't understand why Ray wasn't taking that into consideration. He kept saying, if that was you, you know, I would have never switched up. I would have never switched up. But it's like, boy, your girl has quite literally tried to get rid of me 2 times for no reason and feels like, you know, I can't be trusted. So therefore, I don't trust her. And I think that's what makes the situation so tricky, because it's like, I feel like if I were Ray, at some point when it comes to the friendship, I would just have to take the L and understand. Not a lot of people talk about how awkward it can be when you're friends with someone and then they get a girlfriend or boyfriend and you don't really click or like vibe with their partner, especially if that partner quite literally has done something to you in the way that Imani did to Justine. Like, the type of personality that I am, I would have done the same thing too. Like, if I was Justine, I would have been like, skip Imani. Respectfully, Ray, your girl's got to go. And therefore, unfortunately, you got to go. But then he kept trying to be like, oh, Justine, you let Jack get in your head. I don't think that any decision that Justine made was influenced by Jack, like, whatsoever. Justine is a very headstrong and sure, assertive, and dominant woman. Like, the way that she dominated her way through those challenges shows that she is nothing to play with. Okay, I love the way that she carries herself. And at the end of the day, if you were a real one, you would know that that's the way that Justine moves. You would know that she did not take that decision lightly. If you were, as real a one of a friend as you say you are, like, did you not take any of that into consideration? And at the end of the day, Ray, it's a game. It's a game. I would never try to take that personally when it came to my friends, especially given the fact that $100,000 was on the line. I'd be like, you know what, girl? Like, I understand you did what you did, but I would want to be happy for my friend. Even though I can't get the money, girl, yeah, go ahead and get that money. You know what I'm saying? Like, why couldn't he be supportive in that way? He didn't give a crap about, wishing her well. He was just so upset and wanted to just play the victim. And it was just very selfish in the way that he reacted. Like, you act like this decision was so easy for her. He didn't consider about how difficult it was for her. You're not considering the fact that Justine is in an uncomfortable position as your friend and that your girlfriend quite literally has tried to get rid of her. It's almost like he just wanted her to pretend that none of that was a factor and just only be loyal to him just because. But it's like, no, dude, it's a game and we have to play the game and we have to have strategy. He swore up and down that he was going to have strategy, but in the end, I don't think that he did. Like, Ray was just strictly there to play off emotion and not think critically. And Justine was there for the money, which she said in the beginning, because she'd been scorned by the love part in a previous attempt. So of course she's going to get straight to the bag. And as a friend, I feel like you should support her in that. And then what gags me is Justine, when I watched some of her interviews on a podcast, she was saying that after the show, when they were still in Fiji, her and Ray talked it out. They hashed it out. They had a couple conversations. When they got back to the US, they even hung out a couple times and everything was fine and dandy. But supposedly once the show aired, he got back triggered. And then now they're working on their friendship again. At this point, it's a chop, Ray. I cannot have friends like this around me because it's like, dude, like I said again, it's a game. You should want the best for me no matter what. And then on top of that, I don't even think him and Imani are even together anymore. So if I were Justine, I'd be like, you're beefing over what? If anything, I was right in the end. You and Imani are not even together. And I didn't feel the vibes from this girl. And in the end, I was right. So you may as well just be okay with the way that things turned out anyway. I don't even know. It was just crazy. And I'm never going to shame a man for wearing his heart on his sleeve. But oh my God, are you not even going to try to keep it together? We're really going to sit up here and cry every 3 seconds. And as somebody who is a Pisces and personally a crier, I get it. But at that point, I would even have to be like, all right, I got to buckle up. I got to keep it a buck and keep it moving. So yeah, I don't know. I just felt like that was kind of strange. And ultimately, I would just say that I'm glad that Jack and Justine won. I really like them together. I don't really understand why Zeta, whatever her name was being shady and telling Justine to take the money because she doesn't trust Jack. I saw everything that you guys saw, apparently, and I don't really think that Jack personally gave me any reason not to trust him. It didn't seem like he had any red flags. He seems like a serious, open, upfront person. And even after the show is done, it seems like him and Justine are still on, good terms. They may or may not still be dating. I don't know. So I just didn't really understand why Zeta even like threw that shot, trying to make Justine feel like she can't trust Jack. Like, he hasn't shown that he has any reason to be untrustworthy other than the fact that he had to vote Ray out of there. Ray and Imani would have tried to convince Ray to get them out of there first. So you just had to go. Like I said, ultimately, I'm glad they won. And I just felt really uncomfortable towards the end with the finalists, because it was like, you've got Johnny and what's her name? Aurelia, and then Callum and Deb. It was like, I felt so detached to the finalists, because it's like, these girls are new. You guys have been here all but 5 seconds. You want to do this cheers, toast, we deserve to be here. But you didn't even do anything. Deb quite literally doesn't even want to participate, properly in the challenges. Aurelia and Johnny only really have the sexual chemistry. I don't really feel like anything is like authentic or genuine about, their match, other than the fact that he can't keep his hands off her butt and they can't stop, shoving each other's tongues down each other's throat. So I'm just like, what is this finalist lineup going on right now? You know what I mean? Like, the only real ones here, towards the end were Sully and EL and Justine and Jack. With Callum and Johnny's couples, I was just like, ugh, this makes me feel uncomfortable. Like, why are these girls even here? I would have much rather seen, some OGs make it to the final, but it is what it is. Anyway, those are just a couple of my thoughts on the Love Island game season. Going forward, I think I'm just going to continue to keep watching if we have another season of Love Island Games and another season of Love Island UK. I have not watched Love Island US yet, so I'm going to be on that. And of course, RuPaul's Drag Race is coming up, I think, on January 5th. So I might make some videos about my thoughts weekly on that once that premieres, because the last season was so good. So be sure to stay tuned in, guys. If I feel like making a video outside of the podcast, I will. And I just hope that you guys, support it. So thank you. Like I said at the beginning, make sure you give this video a like, turn your post notifications on, and subscribe, since I'm on my road to my first 100 subscribers. And I will see you guys on the podcast. Bye.
Cause I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya. Mini skirt